it's going to be fun to watch these guys because it's vastly different than what we've seen the year before.
Finally have a franchise guy at quarterback, and I'm not seeing that right now through one season and one game.
Because I'm not basing it off of one game or the little amount of appearances that we've seen.
I think there's a chance all 6 of these quarterbacks, Hutton, are good, productive NFL starters for the majority of their career. I don't know that there's a bust.
Solid performances by the quarterback class that's now in year number 2. I'm trying not to knock him based on what I saw last night. I do think there has been a nice jump in progression. Caleb Williams, first half, I thought looked very, very good. And then JJ McCarthy took over in the second. And it was, the ManningCast pointed this out, and I thought, didn't go back to it in the second half. The way that first half finished, where Payton was just like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to go? Why are you calling timeout? Because Ben Johnson called timeout. Why are you calling timeout? And then you had O'Connell who took a timeout at the end. They ended up getting a field goal right before half to get some points on the board. And it was a big pass right before halftime after a majority of 2 quarters where JJ McCarthy wasn't doing anything. They mentioned that, maybe there's a little rhythm there to the offense. Comes back out in the second half, and it was a totally different game. 21 points in the fourth quarter, and the situational football at the end was fun to watch as well. Good games overall, and solid performances by the quarterback class that's now in year number 2 from 2024. And Chad, you were re-ranking in your own terms the 6 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first 12 selections of the 2024 draft, ending with the Denver Broncos selecting Bo Nix. But the most we've seen since the 80s, and so far warranted based on the performances that we've seen from the way that the leaders of their offenses are playing.
Well, and I'll start with JJ McCarthy. I thought that everything we heard about his intangibles leading up to the draft, that was the biggest thing. This guy's a winner. He's a leader. His teammates love him. He makes winning plays late in games. Checks all those boxes for intangibles. We saw that in game number 1 last night, late in the game. He had 57 yards passing going into that fourth quarter and goes off in the fourth quarter and plays great and gets the win for the Vikings on the road.
Didn't play in the preseason, but 3 snaps.
Yeah, and I think of Caleb Williams the opposite. Like all the question marks about Caleb Williams going into the draft, it wasn't his tangible talent, his arm strength, his ability to run, any of that. It was some of the intangible stuff and some of the weird things with him in games, crying late in the game, jumping into the arms of his mom, the fingernails, all these things that were discussed, whether they were important or not. That factored into the coverage of Caleb Williams going into the draft. So I re-ranked those 6 quarterbacks, and here's the list of those quarterbacks if we went back and did it again. Full disclosure, completely forgot about Drake Maye in this list. I don't know if that's a good thing for Drake Maye or a bad thing, but he was a total afterthought, and I sort of think of Drake Maye as good talent, good start, not great. They lose at home to the Raiders in game number 1, which is not great. But I'd probably put Drake Maye sort of right in the middle of this list. I don't think anybody's going to argue with Jayden Daniels, number 1. The dude looks like a superstar already. Yep. He's my number 1. Michael Penix Jr., I've been high on him leading up to the draft. I don't think he's shown anything that I would say he's not second on this list. Bo Nix had a great year 1. You would definitely put him by production and what he accomplished ahead of Michael Penix Jr. or anyone else. He was terrible in game number 1 against the Titans. Another big, egregious problem with the Titans not winning that game and losing by 8 was how bad Bo Nix and the Broncos were in this game. Almost gave it to the Titans. The Titans couldn't take it. I've got him 3rd on the list. I would go Drake Maye right there after Bo Nix on this list. JJ McCarthy, 1 game. I get it. This is my knee-jerk reaction to it. I'm putting him ahead of Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams is bad. I think there's a chance all 6 of these quarterbacks, Hutton, are good, productive NFL starters for the majority of their career. I don't know that there's a bust in this group. There's just, to me, something always missing with Caleb Williams, and I saw some of that late in the game last night.
I think all quarterbacks have passed the eye test to some degree. Caleb Williams is facing a lot more pressure to succeed, being that he's the number 1 overall pick, and he was the unanimous guy going into that draft, right? I'm re-ranking these in my own head because I'm not basing it off of one game or the little amount of appearances that we've seen. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be further down my list because of that. Same for JJ McCarthy, but they're going to be ahead of some of the guys that we've seen for 18 games now. Caleb Williams is all the way at the bottom of my list, but I'm basing it off of last season as well, not this season. I'm also higher on quarterbacks that have an opportunity to return with their play caller. So, number 1, Jayden Daniels. Number 2 for me is Drake Maye. Didn't perform well, but I have seen him play well. I'm not going to base it off of one game with JJ McCarthy, and I still have McCarthy number 3 because he's returning to an offense where he was able to sit back and learn with Kevin O'Connell. And Bo Nix is ahead of Williams for me right now, as is Michael Penix Jr., but they're all very, very close to one another. Caleb Williams, man, I'm trying not to knock him based on what I saw last night. I do think there has been a nice jump in progression of overall talent around him. Offensive line seems to be better. And he's able to evade these sacks that, it's hard to believe he was sacked as many times as he was last year because of how fast he is. Just how I knew he was quick, but there's a different gear to him that he's able to crank up to that enables him to get first downs that I just don't think the normal quarterback on this list is doing. I do think, though, I'm also factoring in the crunch time situational football element of some of their coaches. That is a plus in the category for Drake Maye. That is with Mike Vrabel. That's a huge plus. That's a plus in the category for what's going on in Denver with Sean Payton. Excellent at that. And Nix, for the most part, they turned the football over 4 times against Tennessee in week 1. He doesn't normally throw picks. I mean, if you go back to look at his stats, it's not like he throws the egregious or makes the egregious error with Sean Payton's offense. What we will see is that does happen with Caleb Williams because he tries to do too much. And let's mention Kevin O'Connell at the end of the game last night with the wherewithal to have the return man bring it out of the end zone, forcing the 2-minute warning to go into effect without having to run a play. That saves time on the clock, or waste time on the clock for Chicago, saves the game, in essence, for Minnesota. And on the flip side of things, Chicago with Ben Johnson, I know Payton was saying kick the field goal. It made sense. Because you kick the field goal with 2:17 left, you only have 1 timeout. You really have 2 with the 2-minute warning. You get the ball back with a minute and a half instead of, 17 seconds or something. Yeah. Those things factor into the quarterback performance where it goes down as a loss for Caleb Williams and a win for JJ McCarthy. And a big one for McCarthy because he wasn't doing anything. And then they got things going on the road after he threw a pick 6. Those are the X factors you're mentioning where starting on the road, there's a lot of pressure with that because it's in the division. It's against the number 1 overall quarterback from your class. And it's a preseason where they didn't even feel like they needed to play him because they thought everything was good to go with their second-year quarterback. They did seem a bit out of sync, but even when they're out of sync, you've got Justin Jefferson and everything else. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch these guys because it's vastly different than what we've seen the year before from 2023 and the group that we're seeing this year where there are going to be some quarterbacks who are on some bad football teams early on.
And Ben Johnson said the call was to kick it out of the end zone, and he came up short, and that's what allowed the return there in the end. And all eyes are going to be on Caleb Williams. He's going to face way more scrutiny, A, because he's number 1 overall pick, B, because it's the Bears organization that's been terrible at drafting and developing quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. So the question is this the guy who can finally get the Chicago Bears organization off the schneid and finally have a franchise guy at quarterback? And I'm not seeing that right now through 1 season and 1 game, even though there are flashes where you absolutely see the talent of Caleb Williams. 2 takeaways from the ManningCast last night, good and bad for Caleb Williams. One is that Payton consistently would say, throw it away, when he evaded a sack and ran out. And Payton acknowledged, every time I say throw it away, the guy picks up 12 yards with his feet afterwards and runs around the edge and gets more yards. So I guess I'm wrong on that. Well, 2, though, there was a play where he's saying, just don't turn it over here and don't do anything stupid and try to make too much happen. That very same play, he sort of fumbles it out of bounds, falling to the ground, where he loses the ball in his hand, mm-hmm. and him and Eli were arguing about whether or not it was an incomplete pass or a fumble. But regardless, right as Payton is saying, what you can't do here is do something stupid, be loose with the ball, or make a mistake. And on cue, Caleb Williams makes that mistake. The good and the bad of Caleb Williams, Hutton, I do think that all 6 of these guys could have a good career in the NFL, but I think we both agree it's Caleb Williams last right now, even though he's the number 1 overall pick of that group.
And it's Daniels who's well ahead.
Far and away number 1.
Well ahead of the other guys. You know, there's one that has Super Bowl expectations this year.
Yep.
You know, with legitimate Super Bowl qualities to their team. That's Washington. And kudos to the NFL schedule makers, man. It's hard not to have good matchups every week. I thought it was an excellent matchup week for week 1. And then we kick off week 2 with we have Green Bay and Washington on Thursday Night Football. With all the storylines, what we've seen from Green Bay, 2 Super Bowl caliber teams on Thursday night, right out of the chute. Well done.
Yeah, it was the primetime windows, all except for Lions, Packers, and the build-up to that one.
Yep.
They all lived up. Thursday Night Football, Cowboys, Eagles, great. Friday night, by the way, the ratings were not good on YouTube. I think it was 12 million or something viewers. I mean, that's compared to 30-something million of the other primetime windows watched on YouTube and YouTube TV on Friday night for Chiefs-Chargers. But the early game, the Steelers-Jets, going into Sunday Night Football, which was an absolute classic. And then Monday Night Football delivered last night with Vikings-Bears.
And I like the fact that the networks as a group passed on, well, I mean, one network carried it, but it was in a window that's not primetime. All the network primetime windows, when they have their selections, they passed on Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers.
Yeah.
You know, they chose last night's game, which I'm happy for because we got to see 2 quarterbacks with some storylines there that, you know, otherwise Rodgers would have been successful based on what we saw in week 1 against the Jets in his return. But I'm glad we didn't see that on Monday night. I'm glad we got to see 2 other quarterbacks in this case. So overall, successful week 1. Is there a loser in week 1 that you feel like is like more or less going to turn things around and actually use it as one of the few losses that we're going to see? Like, what are the teams?
Kansas City would, be high on the list just because their track record of bouncing back.
And it's KC Philly this week. See, to my point.
Yeah. I will say also the Cowboys mostly impressed me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too.
Based on where they are. So that's a good one. This upcoming week too, Hutton, just looking at the primetime windows you mentioned, Washington, Green Bay on Thursday night. Late afternoon, you got the Super Bowl rematch, Philly in KC.
Yep.
Sunday night, that quarterback list we just threw out there, Michael Penix Jr. versus JJ McCarthy.
Absolutely.
Year 2 quarterbacks. And then you got the doubleheader on Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay, Houston, Chargers, and the Raiders. So it's going to be another fun weekend.
Yeah, and so the Texans, I think, are much better than what we saw against the Rams. But their offensive line, they're starting 4 new starters. They've revamped it, and they still sucked against the Rams.
I'm ready for C.J. Stroud to pick it back up.
Me too.
From that rookie year,
another example,
time to pick it back up.
Another example, though, changing a coordinator again.
Yep.
You know?
Speaking of changing coordinators, Cam Ward will probably have a change in coordinator pretty soon.
Changing play caller could be happening during the season if it continues the trend of what Brian Callahan is showing us, both with his play calling duties and with his ability to just not be able to know surface level rules, simple rules that an offensive minded head coach in general has to know. We discuss the fact that Brian Callahan did not know that 1 elbow equals 2 feet whenever he chose not to review a play late in their loss against Denver, and what that means for the Tennessee Titans, and as Chad mentioned, specifically Cam Ward. All that straight ahead right here on Hot Mic.
This fall, you're not just watching the biggest game in college football.
You're at the game.
Bama versus Georgia.
September 27, Athens.
OutKick's giving one lucky fan and a guest the VIP treatment.
Flights covered.
Hotel covered.
Game tickets, of course.
No purchase necessary.
Just hit OutKick.com/sweepstakes.
College football weekend of a lifetime. OutKick.com/sweepstakes.
Sixth and Peabody, our location, Yeehaw Bureau, Smoky Moonshine, Hot Mic, Hutton, and Withrow, here at OutKick.com. We hope you subscribe to the OutKick Hot Mic YouTube page. At OutKick Hot Mic is how you can search for it there in in the search bar on YouTube. Subscribe and join the chat and much more. Subscribe now. QR code there on your screen. Plus, just next time you're on your device, be sure to check out OutKick Hot Mic and subscribe to the new channel.
We're going to up the content game, too, outside of the show some. We went live on X before the show, so we'll do a little bit more of that. Weekend content.
Reaction.
Yep. People can make fun of my chicken wings again. You know, I'll be sure to give everyone an update of what I'm cooking every Saturday, so you can just completely trash my culinary abilities. Whatever you need. I'm here for you. I'll be your clown.
What is it?
I'll be your clown.
It's not salmonella, is it? What's the one?
E. coli. E. coli. Yeah, trichinosis is another one you can get from undercooked meat. The wings were cooked fine. It was just that people thinking that it was the finished product.
Dude, I don't know what it was, but I was out Thursday, Friday because my lip was swollen. I showed you a photo of it. I'm certainly not sharing it with too many people. But Chad, your thoughts?
I think you should have done the show.
What you saw?
There was.
What did you see from my lip?
There's a movie like this is going to be, I think, the most. I'm a pretty obscure movie reference guy at times, Hutton.
Yeah.
This may be the most obscure movie reference, and if Tyler can find a picture of this quickly, then I will forever love him. Okay. But a movie called Pure Luck, from like the late '80s, early '90s with Martin Short, Danny Glover. Okay, a comedy where the whole premise is that Martin Short is the unluckiest guy in the world. Okay, there is a scene where I think he gets stung by a bee. Or something happens, or he eats something, and he has an allergic reaction to it.
Yeah.
And, remember his Jimmy Glick character?
Yeah.
So he kind of turns into Jimmy Glick, like skinny Martin Short.
His entire face.
And his lips and his face and everything swells up immediately, but he doesn't know it. So everyone is talking to him like afraid for his life, but he doesn't know what his face looks like. And then he has to look at himself in the mirror. This is what Jonathan Hutton looked like in the photo that you sent my way.
I woke up.
It looked like somebody he was pumping helium into your lip.
Yeah, like I had lip injections.
Yeah.
Too many.
Right.
I look like
it was a lip injection gone wrong. This was Hutton on Thursday morning in the photo that he sent to me. Except to just imagine everything else on this face is normal except for the upper lip.
The doctors drained 3 syringes worth of stuff out of my lip.
I mean, what?
I don't know.
Here's my question when this stuff happens.
But I didn't eat anything. I didn't eat
the
anything.
body's an amazing thing because I'm like, what? The times when things happen, I'm like, where does this come from? Like, what is this fluid that's being drained all of a sudden that wasn't there before?
It wasn't blood. I mean, I don't know what it was.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the concept of pus.
I laugh because I
this is why I did 1 semester of pre-med and not 2 and didn't pursue it anymore because I was freaked out about the concept of bodily fluids like pus. It's like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Chad's not wrong. I looked at myself in the mirror Thursday morning. This is what I saw. I mean,
you saw
Pure Luck.
You saw Pure Luck, Martin Lawrence.
So
Martin Lawrence. That would be fun. This would have been a funny movie with Martin Lawrence too. But Martin Short was in this film.
This is my look. I was like, what?
And he's happy as a clam, and he doesn't know what's happening. Look at that face.
Woke up ready to go, and then all of a sudden, I was like, sitting chatting, text, dude, just giving you a heads up first. This is a little weird.
You'll be happy. No, I didn't show it to anyone. The picture that you sent.
I was like, I'm going to show you this.
But I did think about just responding. I'm like, oh, come on, you can soldier through. You'll be fine. Just because I wanted to see you like tripping over your lip, during the show, you couldn't even open your mouth.
And these guys would have me on camera the entire show.
Oh yeah.
You'd be talking,
close
up.
Suddenly, like we got a closer angle at you. Usually it's further back, and it's like we're going to go close up. We're going to go live inside of Hutton's pus-filled lip.
That's what happened.
And show you what it looks like.
So also spider bite could have been up, but I haven't seen a bug in my place, seriously in like 2 years. I don't think it was a spider bite. I think I was allergic, but I didn't do anything out of the ordinary.
Hutton, there are times where I feel like the earth is just designed to kill me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There are days where I go to my daughter's cross-country meet at the Hermitage on the grounds of Andrew Jackson's home.
Yes.
And I think it's ground zero for allergies in the world. It is the most allergic reaction place my daughter's the same way. We can't speak after 20 minutes on these grounds. Like immediately there's drainage. Like our voice starts to go. I don't know if it's the combination of elm trees and everything else in the fall and dust because they just mowed the grass and then you're driving on all the dirt.
Pollen.
It's awful. And I feel like probably you did on Thursday morning where I'm like, the earth is designed to kill me right now because Hutton doesn't even know why his lip is so fat and swollen.
No idea. and it didn't budge for a day. So, yeah. If you end up with a swollen lip, just know Pure Luck is the movie to go
Pure
watch.
Luck, a great movie. I don't know where it's streaming, but you can find it somewhere on a streamer, I'm sure. Danny Glover at his comedic best, along with sort of the straight man in it, but certainly Martin Short is the comedic relief
Just the look
of the film. But I remember watching this movie with my dad as a kid, and we loved it. Pure Luck.
Martin Short loves dressing up like this.
Yeah, he does. He's a big dress-up
It's
guy.
a little weird.
He likes a prop.
It's a little weird.
He likes a prop. He really relies on the prop.
Eddie Murphy makes it look cool.
Yeah.
Martin Short, this is like a fetish.
Yeah, yeah. You think that he goes home and puts this suit on?
The body suit.
The fat suit?
I do, yeah. He really enjoys it.
Hutton, you know who wishes they had a swollen, infected, fat, or not infected, but allergic reaction
To blame it
on
on the
Sunday
infection?
morning is Brian Callahan.
So Brian Callahan.
He wishes he woke up like you did that Thursday morning.
Titans head coach Brian Callahan, the head coach, one of 32, all right, claims to, not just claims, I mean, one of the requirements of being hired as a head coach is you're going to know the rule book, right? It stops with you. The buck stops with you on the sideline. In a game where we saw it last
It's like
night.
a pastor or a priest knowing the Bible.
Yes.
Right? Like you go to school for that and you know it inside and out. When you're hired as an NFL head coach,
Right.
the understanding is you know the rules of the game.
And I would say, there are certain stories in the Bible that are surface level that, you kind of know the...
Are you saying Brian Callahan is Job? Is that what we're going to get to
There's
here?
Job. There's
Okay.
Daniel
Because
on the
Titans
line.
fans feel like Job right now, I
There's
think.
the fiery furnace, right?
Yes,
You've
yeah.
got that. There are certain Moses, you've got all these different stories, right? That to me would be the basic concepts of the NFL rule book. One of them would be what's in bounds and what's not.
Yeah.
Right? It's difficult. Trust us. We understand this too. So do the rules analysts and the broadcasters of college football. What's a catch and what's not a catch? We saw that in week 1, galore. But what we do know is 2 feet in the NFL, 1 foot in college football. Now, beyond that, for the NFL, what's a catch and what's not? If you don't have 2 feet down, what could constitute a catch? Well, it's one of anything. And Brian Callahan had the opportunity to challenge a play. Alec Eilmanner, one of the rookie receivers for the Titans, catches a pass, 1 foot's inbounds, but his elbow's down. And he was asked post-game, hey, think about challenge that. Why didn't you challenge the play, see if you could keep a drive alive and help your team go win a football game? Here was his answer post-game.
They moved out of bounds on the sideline, and it looked like his elbow hit inbounds first.
Yeah, you got to get a foot inbounds too, which we didn't have a clean look at whether his foot was down as well. An elbow doesn't equal 2 feet, so his foot would have had to come down as well. We didn't have a clean look, so the call from upstairs was that it wasn't more challenging.
Okay, that's postgame. Now let me give you my initial reaction listening to his postgame presser live. Oh, I just kind of I heard it. I'm thinking, oh, that must be a new rule that I didn't, because they change rules all the time.
because he was so confident.
They change rules all the time. 1 elbow doesn't equal 2 feet. Okay, I guess that's true. The head coach is saying so. Well, then everyone that's at the presser gets back up to their laptops. They look up the rule, and sure enough, 1 elbow, that is a catch. In fact, that the coach is wrong definitively with what he said. He was very defensive about some of his other issues in that game, play calling and everything else post game. Titans lost the game because of their head coach here, play calling. And I would argue that presser was worse than his performance on Sunday as a play caller, where you have a rookie quarterback on the road on a silent count. They have a 6-3 lead in a game that everyone thought they're going to get their ass kicked. And Chad, they finished the game +3 in the turnover margin for a team that was like -16 last year. They don't win the turnover margin. They were awful at it. They get 3 more turnovers than the Broncos were handed. And there's a situation where he gives up a touchdown at the end of the half because he's throwing from his own end zone. He has his rookie quarterback throwing from his own end zone. With like 40 seconds left, Denver had 2 timeouts. Sean Payton's probably just going to let the half in because the Broncos are going to get the ball to begin the second half. But here's Callahan throwing out of his own end zone. So you're already, there's vitriol for it. Like, what are we doing here? We had a chance to win this game, and we only scored 12 points, but we had a chance to win this game. That's what Titans fans are saying. And then post-game, he's claiming that he knows a certain rule as definitive as...
And he doesn't.
One of the stories of the Bible, like a pastor would know, right?
Yep.
And then...
Sermonizing.
Yep. And then come to find out, well, in fact, that's not true. He's blatantly wrong. And so on Monday, he starts his press conference by stating this.
And again, I know you guys are all here for the conversation about the play with Ellick and challenging the play and what I said after the game. And look, ultimately, my interpretation of the rule was wrong. I'll own it. We should have challenged the play, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. Is I'll own the mistake. We should have challenged it, and that's where it stands.
So
interpretation.
He says that.
Yeah, he went on to say more.
Yeah, and then he goes on after that this is where he really, that was fine. I mean, it sucks that the head coach didn't know the rule and didn't challenge it and cost his team a big play by not challenging something that would have been overturned and been a catch. So you can't go back in time and change that mistake. But I thought it was admirable how he owned it at the end of it and said, hey, I screwed it up. I misinterpreted the rule, and we should have challenged it, and that's on me, and I take responsibility for it. Totally fine with that. But then Hutton, 3 minutes later, in a different question about it, he twists himself into a pretzel by saying, I know the rules, guys. I misspoke in the press conference. And then I'm thinking, well, which one is it?
I wish we had that.
Because if you knew the rule,
he contradicts himself.
Yeah, if you
knew the rule.
If you knew the rule, then why didn't you challenge it?
He didn't know the rule
in the moment. If you just misspoke in the press conference post game,
and the questions were
then
good.
Why wouldn't you challenge it?
The question was directly asked to him: are you surprised that you didn't know?
Well, and also the question by our old colleague PK asked about. There's a guy that's in your ear that his job is to do that too. So are you disagreeing with him in the moment on the rule and not challenging? Is he not telling you to challenge? Now, he's not going to roll his guy under the bus regardless. But now he could have also saved his guy by saying, yeah, I screwed it up. He wanted me to challenge it, and I didn't. That would have made him look even worse in the moment, but that would have been honest, and it would have saved his guy. Because now, Hutton, I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, this is an organizational failure.
Yes, it is.
It's a coaching staff organizational failure. You've got how many people employed? And one of their job is to, first off, obviously know the rules like the head coach is supposed to know it, but to be in your ear to tell you when to challenge something. Yep. So you either, A, both didn't know the rule and didn't want to challenge it, or B, your guy in your ear knew the rule, told you to challenge it, and you said, no, guys, it has to be an elbow and something else to be a catch. And then no one disagreed with you, and you didn't challenge a play that would have been overturned. Regardless, total failure by the Tennessee Titans and Brian Callahan. Yep. Total failure.
Yep. You know who's not? It's Timmy B.
Nope, never.
Tim Brando, next. Timmy B, Tim Brando, our guest.
Yes,
sir.
That deserves a round of applause.
Hot Mike Petty Withrow. And
Timmy B back with us. We love it.
Tim Brando.
We love it. We get the energy going.
Hey, Tim, where are you headed to this weekend?
I'm going to Lubbock, Texas, where all that cash and those
Make it rain.
What do you call it? And those crank pumps are going, right?
Make it rain.
So, and I'll be in Big 12 country for the next couple of weeks. Just found out late yesterday. I'll be heading over to Baylor for Arizona State and the Baylor Bears in primetime the following week. So next 2 weeks, it's a 3:30 game. Devin and I and Josh Sims will be there for that one this Saturday, and then over to McLean Stadium to do the Baylor Arizona State game. Which, by the way, that Baylor win over SMU was one of the great games of the season so far.
Yeah.
And I think serves notice again that, and even with Arizona's loss to Arizona State's loss to Mississippi State, which, by the way, a lot of us that know football, especially in the SEC, were not shocked by that. It was shocking that their defense gave up that play to lose it after being stoned at the end zone. So congratulations to Jeff Lebby and all those folks in Stark Vegas, because they love their team. I'm happy for them. But I still believe Arizona State is a contender to win the Big 12, get into the playoff, and do great things for Dillingham. So I'm looking forward to both of those games coming up the next 2 weeks.
Tim, we're so in sync that Hutton and I, not only we were not shocked by those two games you mentioned, those happen to be our two picks for this past week for an underdog to win outright. Hutton went with Baylor over SMU. I went with Mississippi State at home to get their first big win under Jeff Lebby against Arizona State.
Yeah. Great calls.
What's the biggest surprise to you so far with what we've seen?
Biggest surprise so far? That's a hell of a question, because in today's world in college football, I'm now ready for anything.
Yep.
With the balance and the parity that we see, it's now, I think, legit. Anyone that's arguing that NIL and portal has not balanced the playing field doesn't know what they're talking about. I guess maybe the most surprising thing to me at this stage is that SEC fans still don't get it. They absolutely still don't get it. No longer can you be a dominant program. I'm sorry, Alabama. It's not going to happen. I don't care if you scored 123 instead of 73 on my alma mater, okay? You're not going to be dominant anymore. Florida, losing the way they did to South Florida, that's not a shock. It's not. And for Florida faithful to feel that it is yet further proof of what they don't know. And running Billy Napier out of town, and this being the narrative now for the rest of the year, that does you no good whatsoever. And by the way, his record, people want to keep bringing up his record. It's sub 500 in the SEC in 4 years. It's 500 overall. Well, thank the conference office for that. Okay. The Southeastern Conference remains Alabama-centric. It always has been Alabama-centric. I guess when you get that kind of tax break to have your offices there, you're paying, what is it, a penny a year, something like that. You get breaks in and around Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And even with a bolstered schedule and going to 9 games in the future, which, by the way, congratulations to Greg Sankey for finally pulling the trigger on that. I need to give him a lot of credit for it. But the bottom line is none of these teams are dominant. And they're not going to be dominant moving forward. Just enjoy how great these games are and understand that you can lose 2 and still get in. Hell, you might even be able to lose 3, even with 12. And I guarantee you we'll have 3 lost teams in when we go to 16.
Now, look, I'm a Southern guy, SEC guy, all of that. But what gets me pissed, Tim, is not what you're saying is spot on about what NIL has done for the Big Ten, some Big 12 schools, everyone else, in sort of balancing things out a bit more. But I don't need to hear from Nick Saban and AJ McCarron about now how woe is me when it comes to Alabama. As if Alabama doesn't have resources and facilities and history. And they've got also one of the 2 best rosters in college football currently.
They do.
Based on recruiting. It's them and Ohio State with the most 5- and 4-star players. That is what really, I think, irritates college football fans. That's where everyone can unite. Against Alabama is when there's bitching from Nick Saban, of all people, who mastered the system, and A.J. McCarron about, well, gosh, guys, now we're just at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, right. Well, by the way, you're still bringing in 5 stars and 4 stars. Here's the issue. Saban was able to undress them enough that their egos had to be checked in at the door enough for them to still win championships. That's not happening now. And Kalen DeBoer, in my mind, is never going to change. He's not. He is who he is. Any more than Billy Napier is going to change. These are both soft-spoken guys that are good in the long haul, but they're not going to shake it up the way the fan base wants. Now, the Alabama faithful, that's a conservative lot, a big-time red state, and they want to see their coaches grab guys by the helmet and twist them around and go ballistic on them like St. Nick did. And by the way, even Saban couldn't have gotten away with that in a lot of places, but he could at Alabama because of the makeup politically of the state, which, by the way, is fine. I'm a conservative. I get it. But you can't expect a guy like DeBoer to do the same thing any more than Nick saw the writing on the wall. I mean, he was as smart as they come. Kept his office there. and oh, by the way, he was making more money selling cars anyway, but he kept his office there. And he is a god. He's got statues all over the place, and good for him. And I do think that his intent now is to help college football in general. So maybe he can sway some people's thinking about cleaning up what the clutter that's still left out there that needs to be cleaned. But he knew what he was doing when he got out. And I think one of the reasons was when he had that first meeting about NIL in Birmingham, if you recall, it was in downtown Birmingham. All the movers and shakers were there. And he was telling them, hey, I know you've given us a lot of money for that Niagara Falls I've got in my office, but we're going to need you to pay a lot more and a lot more and a lot more. And you know what? They answered the bell. They did. Now they're angry because the guys aren't performing. And, you know, DeBoer may not be the right guy for Alabama. I still think that that Billy Napier is at Florida, which is, I know, confounds a lot of their fan base. But the truth is, Kalen DeBoer has never had the pressure. Not even at UW did he have the kind of pressure that, as great as that program was, you just don't have it out there. And maybe there's greater pressure on Coach Fish now that they're in the Big Ten, but in the old Pac-12, it just didn't exist. Okay, even the big donors at Washington were more concerned with a lot of other things politically in their state and in their city. And so the football program, no matter how great it was with Michael Penix, was never that big a deal. Okay, it is a very big deal. And knowing where you are and the geography and the philosophies of the people that you're serving is part of the deal. And I don't know that Kalen will ever get that.
Speaking politically, Tim, LeBron James has written an op-ed in a Chinese publication basically selling the Chinese people on the game of basketball and forming sort of a bridge between U.S. basketball fans and Chinese basketball fans. I have a hard time in knowing how to respond to things like this when we talk about individuals aligning with China versus corporations, because we all know there are plenty of American corporations, Starbucks, Tesla, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Walmart, that are making money in China, selling to the Chinese people and have no problem profiting off a country that has a ton of human rights violations happening within their country. But now when it's an individual, right, profiting, selling money with themselves, what's your response when you see this from LeBron James versus plenty of other American corporations doing the exact same?
Well, it's a sellout. I stopped caring about the NBA long before the venture with China became a reality. But that only further enhanced my feelings about not caring about, nor watching, or never ever broadcasting ever again an NBA game. I want no part of it. And I've said that many times over. People, especially some of my broadcast friends and peers, don't like me saying it. But listen, they've got a job. If my life depended, if my income depended on calling NBA games, I guess I would have to have a different view, but it doesn't. Therefore, I can say what I feel. And the NBA has long since been gone in my mind in large measure because of the hypocrisy over the relationship with China. And LeBron James has only further enhanced, in my mind, the sellout factor that he has within. And by the way, the league began losing its credibility when it yielded power to the likes of LeBron. Bottom line, okay? For those of us that remember what it was like in the 90s, remember and were there and understood how much a part of this country the NBA was. I said this before, I'll say it again. The NBA is like a Jerry Lewis movie. It's a lot bigger in France than it is in the United States.
Well said.
And it's bigger. The players view themselves as more important. You know,
and also the silencing of the league when people spoke out against Chinese atrocities.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
That's the one that really got me was not only is it, hey guys, we're making a lot of money over here, let's keep the gravy train flowing. Then it becomes now we're going to censor our owners, our GMs, right? Daryl Morey, our players when they speak out against China. Yeah. That's when you got a whole separate issue.
Fellas, there are very few times when our president says something that I'd prefer he not say. But in one of those loose moments after a press conference when he says, I have a very good relationship with Xi. I'm like, I really don't care, nor do I need to hear it. Okay, I just don't. That doesn't connect with me. Sometimes less is more. Okay, I don't care about that. They are fundamentally opposite of us. They are an enemy, not an ally. and corporations have been allowing them to get away with what they've been getting away with in our country for a long time. And so I feel the same way about sports and specifically the NBA.
Is there, on the way out, Tim, is there a team right now that I say we, just collectively, we're all overlooking, maybe a team that you've paid more attention to than we should, or we should pay more attention to based on what you've seen?
Well, listen, people are on my case a little bit on my top 15 poll because I've got Iowa State rated so high.
Okay.
And the reason I do is because
the
I think
one I was
going to
bring up was Iowa State.
Yeah. I mean, what the hell? I mean, why not? Who have you seen more consistent? The margin of victory should not matter if you're consistently getting it done and the way you're going to win a game and you go out and do it. Yeah, it's old school. Maybe it's not dynamic. I will say this. When you're going up against a Phil Parker run defense, I anticipated, and I actually said, take the under, okay? Because regardless of how well Rocco Beck looked a week earlier in the game that I had, he was not going to get that against Iowa. But you plan accordingly and you win accordingly. And if that means winning a close game, fine. Now, if you play a team that's going to require that you score 30 or 40 points, I think they've got the ability to do that. I do think that they have replaced both of those great receivers that are now with the Houston Texans, and with a community of receivers, and they've got the best ensemble, almost a half dozen tight ends that just keep on keeping on in down and distance situations. Who else would you put? Like, for instance, Ohio State has to be one. LSU, despite the way they played, in my opinion, against Louisiana Tech, that win that they had at Clemson is still the most compelling road win of any team out there at this stage. So they need to be number 2 in my mind. Why not have Iowa State at 3?
Yeah.
Who else are you going to put there? Okay, so but people don't want to do that because they're not Big Ten, they're not SEC, blah, blah, blah. Those stereotypes have to be eliminated and eliminated quickly. All right, and we'll see more examples of this as time goes by. That defense of Iowa State's that John Haycock runs is incredible. Okay, Phil Parker gets more love, and understandably so. He's arguably been, for the last 20 years, the best DC in college football, and like Kirk Ferentz, he's never left Iowa. But the bottom line is Iowa State's really, really good. And could they lose to Arizona State or Baylor or Texas Tech? Yeah, they could. But right now, I think they deserve to be right where they are. And that shouldn't surprise people that know me. But I'm damn surprised that other people, particularly whether they're voting the AP poll or whatever, just don't want to recognize what Matt Campbell has done. And he's done it with 3 stars, not 4 stars, not 5 stars, with 3 stars. And I don't know of anyone playing more consistently than Rocco Beck at the quarterback position. Like I said, not as dynamic as some, but my God, consistent, absolutely consistent.
That's how we described Tim Brando.
Yep,
on the broadcast. Yeah, it just and so is just this time of year.
Yep,
so consistent,
beautiful.
I love it. Our weather here turning into more of a fall feel, Tim. So it just
same here. Cooled off a little bit here today.
It feels wonderful. We've got Tennessee, Georgia this weekend in the state.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Maybe we need to send our friends in Bristol there that do those Embrace Debate shows down into the cool South.
Yeah.
And allow them to maybe chill a little bit.
There you go.
Right? They don't understand this charm. They just don't get it.
Ryan Clark would love it. Ryan Clark would love it down here, is what we're saying. Really.
Can I say something real quick about that? Real quick.
Sure.
I won't take too long, but I do want to say something about it. I knew Ryan Clark as a player, an undrafted free agent, busted his butt. When he first came, he was worthy of a lot of praise in the start of his career. What happens at our place? I felt a little more kinship recently to ESPN because of they finally reached out for the Corso documentary and recognized that game day actually existed before he put headgear on in 1993. First time that's happened. And I was really honored that they did that. And the documentary, I think, is the best one I've seen since the Madden one that Fox did a few years ago. Really well done. And we all love Lee Corso. So it was a big kumbaya to some extent. But I'll never forget, and this was true even when I worked at ESPN, long before it became known as the worldwide leader. We were the little ship that could. But what happens when you're on the air a lot, when they have a lot of content and you're being put out there every day, whether in my case it was SportsCenter, then College Game Day, then calling games, football, basketball, you're on a lot. okay? And it's pretty clear that you're being valued and you're in your 30s or maybe even your early 40s, which Peter Schrager is. I met Peter. We worked a Fox NFL game in Buffalo in 2014. I was an emergency replacement on a game, and Peter was going to work the sidelines. He was, I think, 31 at the time. My producer was about the same age. And he was like a human sponge. You know, he was all into our business and wanted to do well. And you see what happened with him. He's a tremendous talent. And I think the reason why he left Fox was because, frankly, they have so much content that he could be a part of. And I recently corresponded with him via text and about another matter regarding a book that a friend is about to put out. And I got a quick response from him, like, I'm still trying to earn my stripes here, da-da-da-da-da. So it hit me at that point in time. Peter is really busting his ass to impress because they're putting him in positions of on-air prominence that maybe he didn't have as much of other than the Good Morning Football show, which I thought was the best morning show on TV for a long time. I really did think that. But I have great praise for Peter and his approach. But what happens is you get seduced. This business can seduce you. I think it happened to Ryan, too. I think Ryan Clark came in with the right attitude, but you get to a certain point, and then you start a contract negotiation, and you take the direction that he decided to take. Okay, that market value should be a certain amount based on what? Okay, and he decided to go in the same direction others do in the DEI world that we live in, and he was successful. He got the deal that he wanted. Well, when you get seduced in the business, sometimes it can change you without even you realizing that that's taking place. And I think, sadly, that's happened. I like both of these guys, but Peter Schrager is a professional, and under no circumstances should any teammate in any position, do what Ryan did to Peter. Okay, there's just no place for that, regardless of how you feel about one another. When you're working together on a set or on a game, you're part of a team. Okay, and your job is to debate. If you want to argue about something, sure, go ahead, but do so in a civil manner, and don't throw the credibility and professionalism of a teammate under the bus. And that's what happened here. I realize that everything now is either us versus them. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's black versus white. I realize that that's the narrative that's out there, but that my calling out on my social media of what transpired here had nothing to do with race, had everything to do with our industry and our business. And that is that it's healthy to have disagreements, but it's unhealthy when you point out that someone doesn't have the street cred you do, whether it's solely because you played or solely because of your credentials in other areas that maybe that person doesn't have. I'm working with a 32-year-old analyst right now, a former quarterback at Michigan, who's 2 years younger. He is so good. I'm learning so much from Devin Gardner. I can't even begin to tell you. And it kind of hurt my heart a little bit when Spencer and I were put apart, but it worked out. It was the right thing for the company to do. And Spencer is doing great work now. He's having a blast with Eric Collins doing, and Fox. I think there's just a difference of feelings that I have now, having lived this business for 40 plus years. And that is a seduction process will take place. As I was leaving there back in 1990 to move back home, and I knew I was giving up game day. I remember an executive at the time that's now retired said to me, he said, "Tim, you're not stopping. We got to stop this. You're not talking." And I said, "Well, you know what? My agent told me not to talk. So I'm not talking." I said, "This is unfortunately what happens. Okay. You work people. Then you get to a point where a contract negotiation comes up and suddenly it's like we're starting all over again. What happened to your value increasing in your value?" Ultimately, it all worked out. But the seduction of our business can sometimes get into the head of the talent. And unfortunately, it changes them. Look, I'm not without fault. I've been in the business a long time, and I've lost jobs as often as I've gotten them. But I have managed to have enough check marks to continue to get jobs after I left jobs.
Yep.
And maybe it's a hard lesson for Clark to learn if he ever has a chance to learn it. I don't know. Maybe it's changed. But when you allow, whether it's because of the incredible success of Stephen A, to allow other talent to get what they want based on things that have nothing to do necessarily with what you're providing for the network, then this is what can happen. This is absolutely what can happen. And too many great, Mike Tirico pointed this out in an awful announcing column not long ago. We've got too many really good play-by-play people, too many really good talents in the studio that are going overlooked because they don't yell, they don't scream, and they don't throw others under the bus. They just do a damn good job. And I think it's time that some of the media pundits, particularly those that write about this, start talking about the shows that are actually viewed by people as opposed to those that are just there to bait those on social media. And that's going on ad nauseum today.
Well said, Tim. I'm glad you went off on that right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, it was in my heart. I needed to say it.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I wish both of those guys the best.
Yeah, of course.
Hopefully Ryan learns from it. I think Peter is a sweetheart of a guy. It shouldn't surprise anybody that there were a number of people that rushed to his defense. But I learned when I was in Connecticut that as much as I loved what I did, it mattered where I live. Okay. Well, sometimes you can find out along the career that if you love what you do, that's really all that matters. Where you do it shouldn't. Okay.
That's right.
And maybe that's something that in time all these guys will learn when they're in situations like that. But this wasn't meant to be overly critical of anyone specifically, but I think it should be a learning moment. Something that we should learn from if you happen to be in our business. Okay.
Tim, go hit them straight today.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. You're the best.
Take care. Great talking to you both. We'll see you.
Same.
See ya.
Tim Brando.
Yep.
The great Timmy B. Chad, another fun show today.
Absolutely.
Love having Tim on there, too.
He's great.
Wrap up. By the way, you have until Friday. Go to OutKick.com/sweepstakes. You can be a part of the ultimate game day experience where you can go Tennessee and Georgia this weekend. Then
Georgia, Bama.
That's right. Just around the corner, Georgia, Bama. You can head to Athens. You and one lucky person can join you. Everything's taken care of. Travel expenses, all that. Just follow the link there on the screen or head over to OutKick.com/sweepstakes. We are back at it for the Wednesday edition. That's coming up 11 a.m. Central. Or 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central.
It's fun today. It'll be fun tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be here. Catch us on social as well in between. Hot Mike, Hutton Withrow here at OutKick.com.